Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, takeover news and general update and chit chat show. In my live streams we talk over the news that's come out today, we talk about some of the other games, the football matches, get into some live chats, have some chit chats and more. And I'm absolutely fuming. I've jinxed it. I blame myself. I was getting, to be fair, I think a draw is the best result because I don't want Arsenal to win and I don't want Liverpool to win. But I was getting, I made my thumbnail and I made my title and I was like, yeah, Liverpool rubbish, Liverpool are finished, Van Dijk is finished, Liverpool losing. Like I made like a proper little thumbnail laughing at Liverpool losing, and they almost won it if it weren't for that Ramsdale save. They almost would have beaten Arsenal 3-2. It is 2-0, and to be fair, you know, when you look at the chances, the penalty miss, and I have to say I loved the penalty miss. You know why I loved the penalty miss? It was just Klopp's freaking reaction to it. But if you look at the save that Ramsdale made in the penalty miss, you know, Arsenal almost bottled it. And look, I don't want Arsenal to win the league, but then I don't want City to equal our record of 3 in a row. Ideally, I want Arsenal and City to just lose all their games between now and the end of the season, Manchester United to win all their games, and Manchester United to win the league. But I have a feeling realistically that's not going to happen. But, you know, I have to say a draw, Arsenal and Liverpool dropping points, cannot complain too much of that. Arsenal could bottle it. If Man City beat Arsenal, will Man City go first? Wait, let me have a look. So let me have a look at the Premier League table. I will get into the takeover news. I will get into transfer news. Just hold on a sec. What is the table looking like then? Because you know what I'm fuming about? Do you know what I'm fuming about? Brighton robbed. Brighton, Spurs got their jammiest 3 points yesterday. Spurs should be on 51 points, and Brighton should at least gotten a draw from that game. Shocking referee, an absolute disgrace. That has absolutely rattled me. But I mean, look at the table now. If Man City, oh my God, yeah. So if Man City win their next game, they have 70 points. So Man City, now we look at Man City's next game. What's their next game? Blah, blah, blah. So if Man City beat Leicester, they go on to 70 points. And then their next Premier League game is against Arsenal. So if Man City win their next 2 games, they will go top of the league and they will be above Arsenal in goal difference because their goal difference is 5 better than Arsenal's. And if they win their next game, it could be like, 7 better than Arsenal's. So Arsenal in a position now where if Manchester City won every game between now and the end of the season, Man City will win the league. But just because, and they'll win it probably on goal difference. And look, do you know what? I don't want Man City to win the league. I don't want them to win 3 in a row. But if Arsenal lose on the final day to Man City on goal difference, I know how you feel, Arsenal fans. That was us. Aguero! So it would be nice for Arsenal, like, you know, they bottled top 4 on the final day to lose the Premier League on the final day. But if Man City do win all their games, they would technically win the league because 70, and then if they beat Arsenal, they'd be on 73 points, a bit better goal difference. And if you look at Man City's remaining fixtures, to be fair, in the Premier League, they've got Leicester, who they'll beat, Arsenal, they've got Fulham, who they'll beat, West Ham, who they'll beat, Leeds, they'll beat, Everton, they'll beat, Chelsea, they'll beat, Brentford will beat. Like, the only difficult game, you expect Man City to win all of those games. Brighton and Arsenal would probably give them the most difficult thing. Whereas if you look at Arsenal's final fixtures for the season, Arsenal could bottle the league because Arsenal, okay, win, loss, and they'll probably beat Chelsea, Newcastle. Arsenal got Man City, Newcastle, Brighton. And I don't know why you always fancy Wolves to give someone a difficult game. Wolves are one of their bogey teams. But, I think a draw, Liverpool, where are they? Eighth. 8th place. How many points are they on? 44 points. You know what? You might have your 7-up trophy, Liverpool. You might have your 7-up trophy, Liverpool. But you will not have top 4. Liverpool, since they beat United 7-0, look at this. Lost, draw. And you lost in the Champions League. You have not won. Liverpool have the same amount of games played as us, and they are 12 points behind us. So you know what? We're 12 points above Liverpool. Like, I can't look. Do you know what's mad is I can't actually see Liverpool. Like, I'm not. This isn't even me doing it on purpose. This is generally my screen with the top 7. You can't see Liverpool in the Premier League table. So they might have their 7-up trophy, but you never know. I will get into news in just a second. Arsenal fans are the loudest, though. They're so annoying. City don't even have any fans to brag about. This is the thing. Man City are meant to be bigger rivals than Arsenal, but I feel a bigger rivalry to Arsenal because I know so many Arsenal fans. There's so many Arsenal fans online as well. They're so annoying. They're so loud that even though Manchester City are meant to be our rivals, because they're such an irrelevant club, it's like I'm almost like I don't want Man City to win for the pure sake of I don't want them to equal our 3 titles in a row. But it's like I feel like Arsenal will just be more annoying if they win, because I never see Man City fans online because there's not very many of them. So if they win, you don't hear about it. They're like a Brighton. If they win, you don't really know. But because Arsenal fans, they are bloody annoying as well. To be fair, you can look at it from an Arsenal perspective and say, look, a draw at Anfield is a good result, and it is, to be fair. It's just that obviously they were 2-0 up. The thing is, Arsenal getting a draw at Anfield is a really good result. But when you're 2-0 up, it's not. It's like, oh, you've messed it up. Guys, do smash a like on the live stream as well. Arsenal have got Newcastle. I like how Newcastle have got to play both Arsenal and both Spurs, which should be points dropped for them. Alice, you're shameless. I am absolutely shameless, and I will 100% admit it. Arsenal bought a top 4 last season, but this year it's about to bottle the league title. Imagine, you know how Arsenal bought a top 4 to Newcastle? Imagine if Arsenal do what they did last season, because Arsenal have Newcastle here. Arsenal have Newcastle and Brighton before the end of the season. Arsenal got to play Newcastle, Brighton, Chelsea and City. So, they've got, West Ham and Southampton, but then they've got City, Chelsea, Newcastle and Brighton. Imagine this third last game of the season, they drop points to Newcastle, which means for the last 2-3 games of the season, City would be 2 points ahead. Imagine if they repeated it. Oh, funny. That would be so funny. That would be so funny as well. I'm going to do a poll, actually, because I'm assuming most of us watching are United fans. If you're not a United fan and you're watching right now, tell me who you support. There might be a few Arsenal fans in here or Liverpool fans in here, because we are talking about that at the moment. So if you're not a United fan in the chat, do tell me. Oh, let me turn that off, because I'm going to do a poll, and I'm going to ask you guys who you would rather win the title. Because I'm actually really interested to see United fans' perspectives. Who would you rather win the league? And the thing is, I'll be honest, I don't know who I'd rather win the league, to be honest, because I don't want Man City to equal our record, and they should be bigger rivals. But Arsenal, I feel like annoying me more. So I'm going to ask you, who would you rather win the league, Arsenal or Man City? Oh yeah, guys, it is Easter. Brazilian United says Happy Easter, Alice. So just to say Happy Easter to everybody in the chat. Hope you guys all had a good Easter and stuff. Do get voting in the poll. Do let me know who you'd rather win the league. And if you're not a United fan in the chat, let me know who you support as well. But Liverpool have, to be fair to Liverpool, 2-0 down, arguably Liverpool could have won that 3-2. When you actually look at the opportunities that Liverpool had, the Ramsdale saved the penalty. Liverpool could have arguably won that game 3-2. I think draw is the best result, because both teams drop points. As a United fan, I see draw and I go, you know what? That's the best result. And, next season, hopefully United will be in that thing. Do you know what's annoying? I'm going to show you something. You know how you say, Alice, all you do is go on about XG. You know how you guys have got me for going on about XG and 7-0 and all of that? Liverpool had an XG of 4.0. It's actually mad. We'd always take Arsenal winning the title still over City, but Anfield is tough stadium to go to at Old Trafford, Etihad and Emirates. 4 tough stadiums visiting teams. Yeah. I mean, I think a 2-2 draw is a good result. It's just that Arsenal were 2-0 up as well. Arsenal, I don't want City winning multiple in a row. A lot of you saying you'd rather Arsenal win it before. A few saying rather City. I want Arsenal to win now because they're talking too much. The thing is, Arsenal fans are getting way ahead of themselves. So it'd be funny if they bottled it, but we don't want City equaling our record. What I'm going to do quickly is I'm going to show you this. And Alice is obviously spending 8 minutes of the video not getting into the news and talking more about Arsenal and City. But this is so annoying. This is so annoying. Liverpool XG, Liverpool 2, Arsenal 2, and their XG is that. So, I'm gonna tweet that. Liverpool have an XG of 4.76 of 4.76 versus Arsenal, and score 2 goals, but have an I think they had an XG of what was the XG against us? It was like 2.91, I'll take the brackets out. I'm actually fuming about that. I'm going to tweet that of versus Arsenal scored 2 goals of I think it was 2.91 versus Man United and score 7. Make it make sense. Make it make sense sometimes. That is, I don't know why I've got a capital S in. I'm actually just going to Google Liverpool Liverpool 7-0 win XG, just to make sure. It was an XG of 2.91. It was, yes, it was. So look at this memory. But it's actually, when you think about it, it's actually mad that like they had an XG of 4.76 versus Arsenal. They absolutely dominated Arsenal. Was Bobby Firmino, who knows how to score against Arsenal, as I said on the stats. But you know what? I did look at that second half, because I watched the second half. I couldn't watch the first half, unfortunately, because I was busy. And so Liverpool were better in the second half. But I did think I fancied Bobby Firmino to get a goal. I just felt it was going to happen. When he took Odegaard off, I thought, oh, you know what? This is it. I choose not to vote. Both are rubbish. I do feel like that. I don't want any of them to win. I feel like I don't want to vote in the poll as well. Look, a lot of people, big mix as well. But anyway, guys, keep smashing the like buttons, keep subscribing, keep sharing the video. Arsenal will win the league. Well, if Man City win every game, they won't as well. But we're going to get into the takeover. We're going to get into some general Manchester United news as well. But do subscribe. We're very close to 61,000 subscribers. Are we very close to 61,000? I should know how many subscribers I'm on. I'm on 60,400 subscribers, spot on. So I'm exactly 600 subscribers away from 61k. So do subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. Of course, smash the like button. Of course, share the video while we obviously enjoy the fact that Arsenal have lost, and I can quickly laugh at Arsenal. But thanks to Liverpool for making this year more exciting. You have to admit, you know what? I want to quickly. Liverpool are having a crap season. Chelsea are having a crap season, and for our expectations at the beginning of the season, United having a pretty good season. So, in general perspective, I'm quite happy. You know what? Like, I don't want Arsenal to win the league, and I don't want City to win the league. But watching Liverpool be crap, and watching Chelsea be crap, and watching United probably get top four, win a trophy, and show massive improvements and potential under 10. You know what? As Alice, I am pretty happy as well. Goncalo Ramos to Manchester United, Alice. This is one to keep an eye on. Manchester United's number one priority is Kane. Manchester United obviously desperately want Harry Kane. He is 10 number one priority. We will go for Kane, but Kane, because of Daniel Levy, will be over £100 million, which is a rip-off. So I think us getting Kane depends on Daniel Levy. How much willing to pay him, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. I think if we don't get Kane, I think Goncalo Ramos is almost the most realistic. I think Kane and Ostenham are 1 and 2. I think Goncalo Ramos is number 3, but Benfica will be willing to let him go for 70 million, considering his age, his longevity, his potential. I do think Goncalo Ramos. Is potential to United. This is one to keep an eye on. I can't believe Zinchenko's crying. Grow up. He always cries, that guy, I swear. Always cries as well. I mean, Liverpool absolutely smashed up Arsenal that second half as well, dropping a 2-0 lead. That is very disappointing. But I do want to get into the takeover news. I want to get into some news on the takeover as well. If Arsenal, hopefully Newcastle take points off of Spurs and Arsenal, or Spurs and Arsenal take points off Newcastle, so it helps us. Evan Ferguson is an absolute baller. Evan Ferguson is such a player. I think if United sign Evan Ferguson, they would need to get Evan Ferguson as someone else, because while I think Evan Ferguson's good, I don't know if it's 100% ready. United just signed Victor Roque and Ramos Højlund. I mean, they're two players we've been linked to as well. And Ramos Højlund's following United all over social media. It's very obvious that Ramos Højlund would like a move to United, following social media. But as Football Fanatic says here, this sale is taking too long. We need to invest in the summer. Watch that when the only signing in the summer will be Frimpong, and United chasing down Kane for the rest of the summer. And look, I wouldn't be absolutely shocked if this happens, especially if we don't have new owners. And maybe a midfielder, and it's got United written all over it. You make some very good points. Now I wanted to talk about the takeover, because it's been over 2 weeks since Qatar's second bid went in and Jim Ratcliffe's second bid went in. And 2 weeks ago, we were told that the bidders would be informed next week. So we were told the bidders would have been informed of what's going on last weekend. The bidders weren't. And then we were told the bidders are going to be informed before Easter imminently of what's going on. It literally said imminently, we're going to find out what's going on. Guess what? We didn't. It said before Easter, you'll find out what's going on. Well, it's Easter. We don't know what's going on, do we? Now, there obviously is a news report that came out today saying that obviously the bidders are going to find out imminently in the coming days. There is going to be some news in the coming days. Something's going to happen soon. Qatar are the favourites. The takeover is going to advance soon. We're being told the takeover is going to advance soon, and we're being told that Qatar are the favourites, and we're being told that the bidders are learning their fate imminently. So the expectation is that we're going to know something interesting about the takeover soon. Now, we know from general statistics, general facts, things people have told us, what reliable journalists have said, that, you know, the full sale is most likely to happen. We've seen the Glazers' bank statements, the financial position of the Glazers, the billion in debt, the money they own, which also would suggest that it'd be difficult for Jim Ratcliffe to buy United if he's going to put more debt on the club. Or will he be allowed to put more debt on the club when the debt repayments are incredibly high? That gives Qatar a great advantage. But then some would say, well, if the Glazers can't get a bidding war from Jim Ratcliffe and Qatar don't need to bid that much, so the Glazers might stay because they want a bidding war to make sure they get the 6 billion. Qatar haven't bidded the 6 billion, but the financial position of the Glazers suggests that the Glazers would be very stupid to stay and that the Glazers have to go. And it's Qatar versus Sir Jim. And because of the debt crisis and the money on repayments, Qatar are the clear favourites to win, and Qatar's bid is slightly bigger than Sir Jim. So the expectation is that the Qatar takeover of Manchester United will advance in the coming days, or just in general. I'm not even saying the Qatar takeover. I'm just going to say the general United takeover is set to advance in the coming days, where bidders will be told if they're going to go into the next round or not. There could be a third round of bidding to try and get more money out of Qatar and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I wouldn't put it past the Glazers. However, by the fact that they've delayed this so long, I actually think they could be picking up a third bidder. I think had we found out 2 weeks ago, they would have been doing a third round of bidding. But I think the fact that the Rain Group and the Glazers are taking so much time trying to kind of discover this deal and what they're going to do with the takeover, I wouldn't be shocked if we hear the name of a preferred bidder soon. The longer it takes, the more worrying it is, in the sense of, oh, like, why are they taking long? Is it the Elliott Group? Do they know there's going to be a bad reaction? But then the longer it takes, it could be a positive, because, you know, they need to get new ownership by June 30th because they've got some big debt repayments that they won't be able to pay. So we need to sell a load of players by June 30th to do that, which might be the rumours of why Sancho is for sale, but we'll talk about that later on. But I do think that, you know, the Glazers will have to go. And I do think if they're taking their time, if they were meant to hear about last week and we didn't, maybe it's because they're like, okay, you know, whoever we pick is serious. Like, this is going to get serious. We're going to go into that third round of bidding. Because if they want to get the takeover done next month and they're taking two and a half weeks after the second bid to decide who it is, then surely that means that something's happening. Now, the report that came out today, and this is a report that came out from more of an ITK account rather than a reliable source. I always tell you guys, if something's come out from a god tier source, a good source, an okay source, or a crap source. Now, this is a source that is an ITK. This could have just been made up. This isn't the best source in the world. And I've completely forgot what it said, actually, but it said something about, it said something about Qatar basically having non-disclosure agreements, la-di-la-di-la. And what it was basically saying was, it was claiming that Qatar and Sir Jim Ratcliffe have been invited to a third round of bidding. They've been told that it will be one of those two, and something that, you know, non-disclosure agreements, this can't come out, but the Glazers are going to pick soon. Now, that obviously didn't come out from the best source, hence why it's not worth giving it too much attention. But sort of the news on the takeover is, right now, is expected to advance next week. Qatar are the favourites. Qatar are in pole position to sign United, but you cannot rule out the Glazers staying. That is kind of the news on the takeover. And yes, it's boring. Yes, it's repetitive. Yes, we hear that. Yes, we hear this. But Qatar have the most money. They've gone to the effort of starting up their own 9-2 foundation to make sure they're successful in buying Manchester United. Take that into account. Qatar's bid reportedly is the highest. Qatar, apparently, the takeover is going to advance next week. The Glazers will inform bidders imminently, and that was said a couple of days ago. And that's really the news coming out on the takeover. So it is a mix of news, and it's a little bit repetitive and annoying, I agree. Rather City win it. City always win. Can't have Arsenal winning. I mean, what's the poll results looking at? Someone tell me the percentages of the poll in the chat as well while I scroll down the chat as well. We should sign Olivier Giroud like we did with Van Persie. Not a big fan of Giroud, personally, myself. Greenwood back. I don't think Greenwood will come back till the summer, and if he does come back, I still don't know if he'll play again as well. Ahmad could potentially come back in the summer as well. But that Sanchenko always crying because his country's still under invasion. I mean, look, that's sad. His country's under invasion, but he's crying because they conceded a goal, which I just think is a bit dramatic as well. Shit happens, you know. You haven't lost the league yet. Cry at the end of the season as well. They know that Sheikh Yassim has the most money, so they put in a period of exclusivity to negotiate one-on-one. Now, that is also a rumour going around, as Paul has mentioned here. The Glazers know that Sheikh Yassim has the most money. There's actually... Now, again, I want to clarify this. This was something I read, and again, this didn't come out from... this came out from a source of information that has been right about things in the past, that was quite accurate when it came to the Chelsea takeover, but isn't like the best source of information. I always say if it's a good source or not. I always say before I say something to take a pinch of salt on this. So I want to say, do take a pinch of salt on this. This was a source that had some decent accuracy when it came to the Chelsea takeover, but is known for basically chatting shit. And they basically said that Qatar had, obviously, this because of the non-disclosure agreements, this could not be released. And they were basically saying that they got inside information that Qatar have been having bonus talks with the Glazers. The Glazers have picked Qatar to go into this exclusivity period. The Glazers have had like extra meetings with Qatar. Qatar have had 2 extra meetings that Jim Ratcliffe didn't have. And the Glazers kind of know that Qatar is their favourites and almost their preferred choice already going into the process because they know Qatar have more money than Sir Jim Ratcliffe. But they're keeping Sir Jim Ratcliffe in the loop, and they're basically making sure Sir Jim Ratcliffe puts bids in because they want Sir Jim Ratcliffe to feel like he is competing for United, so he will put bids in to hire Qatar's offer. Basically, that's what they tried to say. In other words, this report that I read was suggesting that basically the Glazers know Qatar have the most money. It's very likely Qatar will be the next owners. The Glazers are pretty much preparing Qatar to be the next owners, but they're keeping Sir Jim Ratcliffe in the loop because they want Sir Jim Ratcliffe to start a bidding war with Qatar so they can get as much money out of Qatar as possible. Because they know if Sir Jim Ratcliffe bidded 4.5 billion, Qatar might bid 4.7 billion, refuse to go any higher, even though the asking price is 6 billion. But if Sir Jim Ratcliffe bids 5.3 billion, Qatar might bid 5.5 billion. But Qatar are always going to bid a little bit higher than Sir Jim, but not a lot higher. Qatar aren't going to go straight up and give them 6 billion. They're smart businessmen. And the Glazers know that the only way they can even get near that 6 billion asking price is if they've got bidders in bidding well over 5 billion, which I think is why they could be using Sir Jim to get more out of Qatar, and that the Glazers are now worried because of the debt crisis that Sir Jim might not be able to buy United and put more debt on the club for legal reasons, and that was a fear of them as well. But this report, and again, take this with a pinch of salt, it wasn't the most reliable source, but it was very much hinting and suggesting at the fact that, you know, the Glazers have had extra meetings with Qatar. The Glazers are preparing for Qatar to be, you know, the next favourites to come in, etc., 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 and that Sir Jim Ratcliffe was just being used to get the most out of Qatar, which, look, I wouldn't be surprised about it. But as I said, we're told that the takeover will advance next week. We're told we're going to hear stuff on the takeover next week. I think next week we should. I mean, I say that, I said this last week and we didn't, because we were meant to hear about this week, but we didn't. So I'm assuming we're going to hear about next week. But next week we should have a clear understanding of what's going on, and takeover is set to advance next week as well. But yeah, just repeating the same news over and over. I'm just giving you an update of what's been said. You know, I'm saying the news that's come out, and unfortunately, the news that come out is a very repetitive. It's still the same people repeating itself. So, you know, Qatar are the favourites, but don't rule out the Glazers staying. La 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 la. That unfortunately is the news, but you know, it should change soon. Arsenal winning the poll at 57%. So 57% of you would rather Arsenal win than Man City. I guess we don't want Man City equaling our record as well. How dumb are you? How are Arsenal bottle jobs? Are we still not top clown? It's called dramatic title. It's not actually calling Arsenal bottle jobs. Well, but you did bottle a 2-0 lead. It's called just making a dramatic title to take the mick out of Arsenal as a United fan. You know, they haven't bottled the league, but they did bottle the game, and you can't deny that, because if City win all their games, they can very much go above Arsenal as well. But we've got a few Arsenal fans in the chat who've definitely been triggered by the title, so I've done my job correctly today as well. It's crazy that we are talking about 200 million being a little bit higher. Crazy money. You're absolutely spot on as well. You know, Qatar will be higher than Jim Ratcliffe, but when you actually think about it, it's crazy money as well. As the interest rates in the UK observe as well, debt is a major issue, and this is the problem. Manchester United are in $1 billion debt. Manchester United have got massive problems with debt, and that's been a big problem for a while. And it was actually said, you know, in the news, in a few reports, that obviously because of the debt stuff going on, with Man United already being in a lot of debt, it might be very difficult for Jim Ratcliffe to become the next owner of United because of this. So even though Jim Ratcliffe's doing this, and that, you know, to try and get United, it's been said that will Jim Ratcliffe be able to actually be able to run United? Because if Jim Ratcliffe puts United in more debt and then he's got to pay off that debt and the interest is at an extreme rate, how's Jim Ratcliffe going to do it? It wouldn't be sustainable. And that is the fear with the Glazers, that Jim Ratcliffe won't actually be able to buy United sustainably, and that actually he could pull out and Qatar have no competitors and Qatar don't have to bid that much as well. Arsenal got absolutely cooked today. XG of 4 point something here, which is mad as well. But yeah, I want to talk about a few stories that's come out. Manchester United are actually on the verge of signing a player called Harry Armass, and he is in the title and the thumbnail of the video, and we're 25 minutes into the video and I've not mentioned his name, so that will be really annoying for someone that wants to watch the stream at the beginning and has to wait 25 minutes to get into this. So I do apologize for that, but I want to get into a story on a player that United are going to be signing called Harry Armass. Now, there was a few stories that came out about him I just want to give you a bit of context on this guy and who this is and who we're reportedly going to sign over Man City. But it was said the other day that United are also keeping tabs on Watford's 16-year-old left-back, Harry Armass, who's viewed as a possible future replacement for Luke Shaw. So this guy would be very much a Hannibal Mejbri signing. We sign him, he goes into the academy and occasionally breaks through. You know how when we signed Garnacho 2 years ago and he obviously broke through a year ago? It's like Garnacho, it's like Hannibal Mejbri. Someone we sign goes into the academy with the hope they'll break through because they're a fantastic player. Now, that was obviously what was said as well. But the interesting thing that's been said today, and the news that's just coming today, and this is coming from very reliable sources, so do remember this as well, like Ekram Kona. It was said that Watford English left-back Harry Armass, 16, is set to join Manchester United despite interest from Chelsea and Man City. It said that Man City were obviously very interested in signing this guy, but this Watford left-back, who's a very good young left-back, is reported to join United. Now, people might say, look, we've got Luke Shaw, we've got Malacia, we've even got Alvaro Fernandez out on loan, but when you've got someone that's the next big talent, you know, the next to Luke Shaw and Luke Shaw aging, this is someone that, probably won't be a regular Manchester United player for 4 years and might not make it, but this is someone in 4 years' time, when Malacia is probably first choice and Luke Shaw is probably starting to finish off, you're like, this is the guy that's going to challenge Malacia. It was said that Watford's Harry Armass, certainly liked by Man United. One source said the move to be a scholar there is as good as done. Clubs say the player is admired, but nothing complete yet. Left back turned down. Chelsea and Man City approaches. So basically, what's been said about this player is that yes, the deal's not done, but it's saying the deal is as good as done. It's saying the deal is as good as done, and that he turned down the likes of Chelsea and Man City to go to United. You know, because we're still a big club as well. The youth are in good hands. The one thing that United, and I've said this before, the one thing that I think United have done well in recent years is sign youth players. I think Hannibal Mejbri, Garnacho, Alvaro Fernandez, Mark Jurado, you know, Kobe Mainoo. I do think we've got good youth players coming through. Obviously, we don't always utilise that, but I do think even Amad Diallo and Pellistri, whether we overpaid for Amad Diallo, we definitely did. But, you know, we do have some good youth scouting. It's first team players that seem to be worrying. You know, I do think we have some decent youth players, and I do think we have an eye for picking out good youth talent, even like Charlie McNeil and all that as well. Sevilla just got a red card. Does that make us? No, it won't be a suspension for the thing as well. I do think that United have done well in the youth bit as well. Arsenal is absolute bottle jobs. Banter FC at the best, says Hackle. And Arsenal went defensive too early. Jesus and Odegaard off at the same time. It nearly cost them the game. As soon as Odegaard came off, Arsenal look a different side. If Odegaard gets an injury, Arsenal could be in trouble. And we're on 135 likes, people. I'd really like to hit 300 likes by the end of the video. We've got nearly 500 people watching, so please do smash that like button if you have not already. What are the chances of signing Frimpong? Let's get into this. This is a good story. Quite a bit of news on Jeremy Frimpong. Obviously from very good sources. The good thing about the Frimpong news is while the Takeover news is coming from a hit and miss source, you know, the resources coming on Frimpong are coming from very reliable sources. It said Jeremy Frimpong is interested by a possible return to Manchester United, and Man United have met his agents. It said that Jeremy Frimpong would be open to moving back to Manchester. He obviously grew up in Manchester for the Man City Academy, loves the area, and would like to go back to Manchester. It was said that, you know, Bayer Leverkusen are willing to let Frimpong go as long as they match the £25 million asking price. Bayer Leverkusen have brought their backup right back. Bayer Leverkusen have told Frimpong he can go in the summer. Frimpong has held multiple talks with United. Roman has confirmed that we've had interest in Frimpong for months now, and Frimpong wants to leave. And it was said that Frimpong will agree to join United if that happens. So basically, Frimpong's a bit like Gakpo. He's allowed to leave his club. He will leave his club. He wants to join United. If Man United pay the money and the club accepts that money, the deal is as good as done. We didn't pay the money for Gakpo because we didn't have the money because we're in debt problems. And maybe that's a good thing, because although I think Gakpo would have been better than Weghorst, I'm not sure where he would fit in 100%. What's being said here is basically if United pay Leverkusen the money they want for Frimpong, he is ours. Because Leverkusen have got their right back. Leverkusen will let him go. Leverkusen will let him go for a reasonable price. And Frimpong wants to come to United. He will accept to agree and join Manchester United if United put the money in for him. And that's very much confirmed. So again, I think this depends on new ownership. I don't think United are going to pursue anyone until they've got new ownership in. But I think if we are going to pursue someone, Frimpong is probably near the top of our list as well. Alice, can you stop talking about player transfers to Man United? You've linked us to 100 players. Your channel's becoming boring. It's not me. I'm just talking about the news. Again, I just talk about the news that comes out. I make 2 videos every day. My job is to cover every news story. In the morning, my job is to cover every news story that comes out that is relevant from a reliable source, so you're up to date on it. And then in the evenings, we talk about this, that. It's, obviously it's a bit boring, the transfer news, because we know we can't do anything until we've got new ownership sorted. But the problem is, we're Manchester United, the media link us to every single player under the sun. Now, I think that United will sign either Kane or Harry Armass. I think United will sign a midfielder. I think United will sign Frimpong, and I think United will go in for Julian Timber in the summer, and that's what I think will happen. Although we are linked to Moises Caicedo, McAllister, David Raya, this player, that player, and it's annoying that we're linked to every player because we know we're not going to sign them all, and we know we can't do anything until the takeover. But this is the transfer news. We're getting towards the summer transfer. It's a bit annoying in the sense of we know we can't do anything and we're getting linked to lots of people. But once we get into the summer, that gets niched down, and we will be talking about the same 3 or 4 names a lot over the summer. Like we were talking about Sancho a lot and De Jong a lot. And unfortunately, Harry Kane will probably become that De Jong transfer. But unfortunately, United are linked to a lot of players because the world knows that United want a striker, midfielder, and defender. They're going to link United to strikers, midfielders, and defenders that are good. Because some of these sources probably won't hear anything from United and will make up they're interested in this player to make a story. And we just report it. But Frimpong is very different to the other rumours because Frimpong is someone we know that United are actively pursuing. I think it's very different to a lot of the other transfer news going on as well. Let's hit the 300 likes if we can, as Diego said. Obviously, Diego, I don't know if you're still in the chat, but my God, did anyone watch Crystal Palace today? Did anyone watch Crystal Palace today? Absolutely destroyed Leeds. Elise is a baller. Elise is a baller. And I will say this now. I said a year ago Manchester United should look at Elise. When we're looking at right wingers in the summer, I spoke about Elise of Crystal Palace, and I said, this guy is good. He plays against United, he scores a banging free kick. But today he was incredible. I think he got a hat-trick of assists. He's a top player. He's a top player. And I know when I mentioned him a year ago, a lot of people were like, Alice, no, he's not good enough, la la la, because he's relatively new, he's relatively young. But when you watch Elise play, not just goals and assists, but he is a very good player. And today he showed that. And I do think he's one of them players, very young, under 10 that'd be good. Obviously, we don't need Elise now because we've got Anthony. And we spent a lot of money on Anthony, so we don't need to spend money on a right wing. But Elise was a freaking baller. And that's why I wanted him in the summer. I said I see his potential, and I'm happy we got Anthony. I like Anthony, but I've always seen its potential. I wonder if I can find that tweet I said about Elise. Because I said something about Elise ages ago. Yeah, when I said Man United was going to do Elise at right wing last summer, I got a lot of stick. But today, people what a baller he is. But this is me, May 8th, 2022. I said Elise, although I did say Spence, so some of them are actually awful. I said, because basically my expectation was, now these are some awful ins, but my expectation was that United had no money and was not going to back Ten Hag or buy anyone. I was not thinking we were going to get the likes of Casemiro in. Obviously went with Timber over Martinez because that's who Ten Hag wanted. I went with Spence as the fullback because it was said that we wanted a right back and he was going to be cheap, and I didn't think that we were going to afford a right back. Kamara would have been a baller at 3. He's been really good for Villa. Obviously, Lema was an obvious one because I didn't think we were going to get De Jong. And then I said Elise and Tony as my striker and right winger. But I've been talking about Elise for a while. I generally think he's a top player. April was talking about Elise, April last year, like April 7th. That's a year ago, saying, I like Elise more than Anthony. And I used to say that I liked Elise more than Anthony. I do think he's a good player. But I did get a lot of stick for saying that. But, I mean, he was fantastic today for Crystal Palace as well. Sam Johnson, our keeper, is an ex-Man United Youth Academy player. He was brilliant. Sam Johnson, I'd have to tell you what, our academy goalkeepers, Sam Johnson, Dean Henderson, although they're not playing for United, they're definitely having good careers and good players in there as well. Second half, we put Leeds United in the mud. I'm so happy. 5 goals was absolutely madness. And I have to say, as a United fan, love it when Leeds lose as well. And this just in, Manchester United to get Ozil out of retirement in midfield. I very much doubt that. That doesn't seem that's something United will do. I mean, I will check if there's any news that's just come on as well. Obviously, I spoke about this in my video the other day. Ten Hag said this is a different Harry Maguire to what I've seen in the first few weeks and months. He's taking so much initiative, dominating his opponents, stepping up and bringing in passes. Great performance from Harry. And I like how Ten Hag mentioned that this is a different Harry Maguire to what I've seen in the first few weeks and months of the season, because Harry Maguire in the first few weeks and months of the season was awful, but he was doing interviews denying that he's awful. Ten Hag knew he was awful, and Ten Hag said, this is a different Harry. The Harry I saw at the beginning of the season wasn't doing this, and that. The Harry I'm seeing now is doing this, and that. And I like that Ten Hag actually acknowledged that as well, because as I said, it was this, that about it, and for me, Harry Maguire was very good yesterday, but this season he's not been great. Alice, between Newcastle and Man United, who do you think gets third in the league? I think United will. And I'm going to go to this now. And the reason I think United will is because of the fixtures. So Manchester, let's have a look at the league table. So let's have a look at the table here. Okay. Manchester United are on 56 points, Newcastle on 56 points, and Spurs are on 53 points. Let's actually look at Newcastle's fixtures left. Okay, so we look at Newcastle. Newcastle play Villa. Villa are 6th. Okay. Newcastle play Tottenham. Tottenham are our top 4 rivals. So even if Newcastle win, that's points off Tottenham. Everton, Newcastle win. So that's 3. Let's say, I'm going to say that Newcastle lose and win one of these games. I'm going to say Newcastle get 3 points versus Villa, but lose to Spurs. I'm going to say they get 3 points versus Everton and 3 points versus Southampton, which is 9 points. But they lose to Arsenal, which is 0 points. They beat Leeds, which is 12 points. They beat Leicester, which is 15 points. And they draw to Chelsea, which is 16 points, which would have Newcastle finishing on 72 points this season. Now, if we look at Manchester United's fixture list, and although we have more fixture congestion and could be tired, I think that United get 3 points versus Forest. I think that they probably get 3 points versus Chelsea because we're at home and Chelsea have been awful this season, which is 6. I think that Spurs, because it's away, I say that we probably get 1 point because Spurs are Spurs, which is 7 points. I think Villa at home, because it's home, I think we win, which is 10 points. I think that Brighton probably beat us because it's away, but I think we beat West Ham. Is that? Yeah, Brighton beats West Ham, which is 13 points. Wolves is 16 points. Bournemouth is 19 points, and Fulham's a draw, which is 20 points. I'd say United probably finish on 76 points. Newcastle probably finish on 72 points. And if we look at Spurs here, probably win, weirdly. I feel like they'll beat Newcastle. Draw. That puts them on 7 points. Liverpool, I think they'll actually lose because it's at Anfield, which is 7 points. Palace, I think they'll win, which is 10. Villa, I think they'll drop points to because it's Spurs, which is 11. Brentford, I think they'll win because they're at home, which is 14. And Leeds, I think they'll probably win, which is 17. But that would put them on 70 points. So if I did like a quick prediction, I have United on 76, Newcastle on 72, and Spurs on 70 points to end the season if I did a prediction. So I do think, going off my really rough prediction, not saying that is going to happen, that I do think United will get third, even though we have fixture congestion, unlike Spurs and Newcastle. And Spurs and Newcastle can just go and focus on the Premier League and nothing else. We've got Casemiro back, we've got Eriksen back. Having said that, though, we ain't got Rashford. We don't know when Rashford's back. We don't know how bad his injury is. And when Rashford don't score, we very rarely score. So, if we don't have Rashford and Martial can stay fit till now and the end of the season, it's not a massive blow. Sancho is looking in form. If Martial can stay fit to the end of the season and we can have Sancho on the left, Martial up top and Anthony on the right, it's not the end of the world. Bruno can pop in with some goals. But if we don't have Rashford, it is a big miss. Especially if Martial gets injured, because then you're forced to play Weghorst, Anthony and Sancho as a front three, which can be a little bit disjointed as well. But we definitely need a striker, and hopefully we will sign a striker as well. New owners, new squad, bish bash bosh done. Well, hopefully very soon. But as said, the takeover is set to advance next week, and Qatar are the favourites, as said earlier. So hopefully, and he's good at defending against the rubbish players. Let's wait until he gets. I'm not sure what we're talking about there. But we're 11 likes away from 200 likes, so do smash that like button as well. Eric Tenal Glove from Pep about mind games. He praised Maguire, hoping at least some clubs are stupid enough to be tempted into negotiating and buying him. I do think there's a decent player in Maguire. I don't think he's obviously as good as Martinez and Varane, and I don't think that United would win a league or major trophies if Maguire started, of course. But I think Maguire is capable of playing for a top 10 Premier League side, and I think United are capable of getting 30 million for him if they can big him up and get him in form. If Maguire's in form, he's a good player. Just not for United. He's a good player for England. He could be a good player for Leicester. I do think United could get 25, 30 million for Maguire. I don't think he's totally useless like some people think. Yesterday when Maguire was good, we could see what he could do. But yeah, I think us as the fan base, we should be massively bigging up Maguire and McTominay. And Ten Hag should be massively bigging up Maguire and McTominay to see how much money we get. 1,000 likes now, we'll do a giveaway. I mean, if you all want to smash the like button and see if we can get 1,000 likes on the video, I'd do a £100 giveaway, but I don't think we will, considering we've got 400 people watching and we're only on 200 likes, so probably not going to happen as well. So he says, I guess United need at least 4 first-team players to the squad, mainly a centre-mid and a striker, a Bruno backup or sign Sabitzer and a goalkeeper. I think Dalot and Wan-Bissaka have improved a lot, so right back is not a priority. Reportedly, we want a striker and midfielder, we know that. and a centre-back if Maguire or Lindelof leave, and apparently a right-back because he's willing to let Wan-Bissaka go, which is interesting. I do think it will be striker, centre-mid, some young underrated player that we've not been linked to before also comes in, but they're not super aware of, like a Malacia type signing. And then probably a centre-back, because I do think one of Lindelof and Maguire will go. And then I think we'll be linked to goalkeepers, we'll be linked to right-backs. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't be shocked if we signed Jurriën Timber, actually. I think United are going to be linked to Jurriën Timber. Caicedo, Bellingham, or Frankie de Jong, one I will get. I mean, I would take de Jong out of all of those three, but I think Caicedo would be the most realistic, but I don't think we'll get any of them, if I'm being honest. What news did I miss about the takeover? I mean, nothing particularly new. It's just basically saying the takeover is going to advance next week. Qatar seems to be the favourites. The Glazers are going to let them know. That's essentially the news. And then obviously a few less reliable sources, so take with a pinch of salt sources, saying that, claiming that apparently Qatar have had these secret talks with the Glazers, and that Qatar are in a different stage to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and that the Glazers have been having secret talks, and Qatar have already secretly advanced, blah, 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 blah. That wasn't said by a very good source, but it was said basically the Glazers have already decided on Qatar, but this hasn't been released because of a non-disclosure agreement, and they still want Jim Ratcliffe to believe he's in the race. So, Qatar have to pay a high bid because Sir Jim Ratcliffe will challenge Qatar to have a higher bid. That was also a story that came out, but I would take that with a pinch of salt. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if the Glazers have had extra meetings with Qatar, if they decided ages ago that it was going to be Qatar because they saw they had the most money. But what we do know is the Glazers will sell to whoever offers them the most. Qatar have offered them the most. The Glazers are in a financial position when they can't stay. So using common logic, it makes sense that Qatar are the favourites. I don't believe the stories that Qatar have had secret meetings because it's not come from a credible source. But what credible sources are saying is Qatar are the favourite. The full sale seems most likely, but don't rule out the Glazers staying. We don't know their full intentions yet, but the takeover is going to advance next week. That is essentially what you need to know on the takeover as well. Caicedo won't leave Brighton for less than 120 million, and they will slap a fat price tag on him as well. Brighton will want a lot. West Ham want 100 million for Declan Rice, and he's not got long left on his contract. Brighton will want at least 100 million for Moises Caicedo as well. They want a lot of money as well. Guys, please do smash that like button. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. A lot of people saying that Ten Hag's transfer plan is confusing, and I think it is. We've been linked to, I think Man United have been linked to like 7 or 8 players today. United have been linked to multiple players today, and I think the problem is we know the positions Ten Hag wants. We know the type of player Ten Hag wants. But until we United know if they're going to get top 4, until United know who their next owners are and their budget are, until United can figure out how much they're going to make through player sales, United can't do anything. So Man United will be linked to about 5. Man United will be linked to about 10 strikers, 10 midfielders, and I think 3 or 4 right backs, and 3 or 4 centre backs, and 3 or 4 goalkeepers, because they know that's what we want to do. We've been linked to Orkun Koku. We are looking at him. We know confirmed from sources. We're looking at Frimpong. We're looking at Koku. Obviously, Ten Hag dreams of Frankie de Jong and Bellingham. He likes Harry Armass. He likes move to Osenham. He likes Jurriën Timber. We're thinking of paying Kim Min-jae's release clause. We know that from credible sources. But we won't know until next month when we're getting to the end of the season, when Takeover should have advanced, set to advance next week, what exactly United will do. But at least we'll get some kind of indication and kind of explanation of what is likely to happen, what could happen. This and that as well. Glazers begging for more money. I think the Glazers are generally delaying the deal because they want to get as much money as possible for United. I think that is why the Glazers are doing this and that to delay the deal. They're like, oh, let's see how much money we can get for United. I want this much. I want this much. The Glazers are greedy. That's what they are as well. Don't leave me, Rice. Don't leave me. I mean, Declan Rice, absolute phenomenal player, but I do think he'll be leaving West Ham in the summer as well. Big game with Sevilla. Can't underestimate them. They're the kings of the tournament. True. Now, I actually want to get into Sevilla. Although Sevilla haven't had that good of a season and they've not been great this season, they're just a different level when it comes to the Europa League, aren't they? I mean, look, Sevilla, where are they? Sevilla 13th in the league. They've not been particularly good. Red card again for them. Not that it really affects us, but I mean, they get red card. They've got so many red card. They've got more red cards than us this season, actually, Sevilla. Red card, they're a dirty team, so maybe we can get them sent off. But their next game is United on Thursday. They played on Friday, so they have a day more rest than us, as said. But Sevilla are the kings of the Europa League, but they haven't looked particularly good in the Europa League as well. Alice, how about getting Ndidi to Casemiro back if Leicester get relegated? I like Ndidi, but he's dropped off a bit, I think. Maybe that's just me. Well, I think Leicester have dropped off a bit. But if he's going to be cheap and, even though he's not, I mean, how much has he played? Even though he's not, I mean, like there was about 3 seasons ago, I would have creamed over Ndidi. I would have absolutely, I would have wanted this guy. And I think he's 26. He's still youngish. He's just not been that great for Leicester recently. But I mean, he's probably did a better job than McTominay. I'd probably take him maybe to Casemiro back on the cheap. I do think Ten Hag could get the best out of him. I do think he's a fantastic player. He's just dropped off where Leicester's dropped off. Not played a whole lot this season. He does have some injury problems, but he's not played loads this season, to be fair to him, compared to normal. But I think it's someone I would definitely keep an eye on as well. Most probably out of the strongest teams we have had to play Sevilla too. Do you know what's mad is that we have just had to play every Spanish team as well. Sevilla are bad this season. A few months ago, their manager got sacked. They probably get new manager bounce against United though. And there are reasons why negotiations to sell Man United is taking a while, because there's an anonymous bidder, maybe just Bezos Apple. I mean, potentially that could be the case, but I think it's the Glazers taking time because they want to make sure they can get as much money as possible. Arsenal are reportedly interested in Yuri Tielemans. We'll have to see what happens with that. He has been injured this season, which is true. You can tell by the lack of minutes he played. He does have an annoying injury record. Do we want Martial 2.0? Last season, he played a bit, but he did get a few injuries last season. Look at this, knee injuries. Yeah, he's not in the squad. Knee injury. I mean, look, he missed a lot of the end of last season with knee injury. So, he's like Martial. You've got to be careful with someone like Ndidi as well. Hey, Alice, hope you're okay. I'm good, thanks. How are you, Lee? And Arsenal are interested in Tielemans. Tielemans obviously will be going on a free. Will Tielemans be going on a free? Or has he got 1 year left? I think he'll be going on a free. I'd rather see Amrabat. Well, United tried to get Amrabat in January, remember? But we ended up with, Sabitzer. It said, Alice, I think the Glazers are stalling, so it'll be difficult for new owners in the summer transfer window. I think the Glazers are stalling, which means we're going to have less time in the summer transfer window, which is going to be really frustrating. But I do think that something will happen soon. I do think that the Glazers don't care about what we do in the summer, so the Glazers will happily stall and ruin Ten Hag's summer transfer window if it means they can get a couple $100 million more for their pockets, those greedy CUNTs. Unfortunately, it's probably the truth. So yeah, you make a good point. The Glazers are stalling as well. Tielemans is a free. I don't know if Tielemans suits United though, but I do think for a free, he is a quality player. But I don't know if he suits the exact profile that we need as well. I'm not sure as well. But I mean, you wouldn't say no to Tielemans on a free. But when I look at the profile United need, I look at, Maxim Kakare, I look at Enzo Laffi. They're the kind of players I look at. I'm like, these are hidden ballers. I mean, if I look at the player, if I could describe the player that Manchester United need, it's freaking Frankie de Jong at midfield. There's no player that would be more perfect than Frankie de Jong. But I do not want to deal with Frankie de Jong. We do not want to deal with Frankie de Jong, and we all know why. But there would be no one more perfect than that. But anyway, people, I am going to wrap up the live stream in a minute, so do get any last-minute questions in before I do that. Ostenham should be the main target, but we'll probably get high back by Chelsea. I think maybe if we get top 4 and Chelsea don't, and we get Qatar owners, we could definitely get Ostenham. I think we'd only get him if we have Qatar, because he will be pricey, and he reportedly would love to come to United. But I think that if Ten Hag's number 1 is Kane, I think United will be more focused on Kane than Ostenham. So I think he could potentially go Chelsea as well. Is it true that Manchester United are interested in signing Hassam Aouar, 24 years of age, who plays for Lyon, who will be available for free in the summer? Reportedly, yeah, he's a player of interest, but apparently he doesn't want to go to United, which I don't know if that was something that someone made up. But he's, again, another player we're linked to as well. Tielemans would be a good squad player, better than McTominay. Koku is okay. He looks really good, but defensively he could be a liability. Gavi could potentially be a free agent in the summer, and that's someone I'd like to snap up as well. Chelsea won't go for Ostenham. They've got Nkunku this summer. True, but it's Chelsea. The thing about Chelsea, Nick, is they might have 12 wingers and they'll go and sign another one. How many wingers they signed in January? You look at them and go, Chelsea surely won't, but it's Chelsea. It's Todd Boehly. He doesn't think normally. They should be looking at midfielders, but yeah, Chelsea will not be in Europe next season, and they could have financial fair play issues. I know they found that loophole, but there could be financial fair play issues there with Chelsea. Aouar's going to Frankfurt. Apparently he would rather. I don't know if United seriously wanted him, but I know United did inquire about getting him on loan in January. Frankie de Jong would be the dream. Now, people, please do smash that like button and, of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks if you're new. Thank you for tuning into today's live show. It was more of a chit-chat show. We did get into a little bit of news because United are about to sign some 16-year-old, and there was a little bit of news on the takeover. So we did get into that midway, about 25 minutes into the show, 20 minutes into the show. So, yeah, thank you for watching. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. I will be back tomorrow morning with a video. See you next time, and bye.